Armenians come from an ancient and civilized culture that stressed the importance of faith, learning, industriousness, and the arts. At the start of the 20th century, they represented a positive force in the world. Then, everything changed.
Deportation of and excesses against peaceful Armenians is increasing, and from harrowing reports of eyewitnesses, it appears that a campaign of race extermination is in progress.
That the Armenian Genocide was both terribly successful and generally went unpunished certainly contributed to the Holocaust. Prior to invading Poland, Adolf Hitler urged his commanders to kill without pity or mercy all men, women, and children of Polish race or language, adding, who still talks nowadays of the extermination of the Armenians. This inhuman madness continued throughout the 20th century and into this one, using the same horrifying techniques that were so effective against the Armenians. The world has witnessed extermination camps, mass killings by the powerful, killing fields in which the strong eliminate the weak, and starvation as a tool for elimination of an unwanted group. What can be done? An answer is taking form in Washington, D.C., with the creation of the Armenian Genocide Museum of America. Fittingly, the site chosen for the museum, the former National Bank of Washington building, was under construction while the Armenian Genocide raged. Even today, a resolution in the Congress reaffirming the U.S. record and simply labeling as genocide the systematic and deliberate annihilation of 1.5 million Armenians almost a century ago remains a powerful political issue. But the truth must never take second place to political considerations. The Armenian Genocide Museum of America has selected Gallagher & Associates to plan and design the exhibits and visitor experience at the museum.
For Armenians around the world, this museum will represent an important step toward the truth. This isn't the time for the faint of heart. This is the time to tell a story with full impact and full exposure. Museums are about truth, and museums are about relevance. The overall museum experience will lay out on 3 floors in the historic building. It will be structured by a series of strong and dramatic themes. On the first floor, visitors will come to understand the history of the Armenian people, the history of genocide, and importantly, a richer definition of the culture. The sights and sounds and textures will be all around them. They will be filled in a space with imagery that will give them a much more visceral and real context of who the Armenian people were. We want the visitor to understand Armenian identity, music, the poetry, the people, the personalities, the geography. What was this community before such a horrific event took place? We will immerse them deeply into the impact of the genocide, the atrocities, the horrors, and the events that led to the losses of millions. At the center of this space will be an important memorial. We'll remember those who were lost and those who survived. Through oral histories, visitors will be connected to the voices and the emotions of those who survived the genocide and those who went on to help and rebuild the Armenian community worldwide. On the last floor will be an important educational connection and experience for the visitors. They'll be able to question, they'll be able to interact, they'll be able to leave their feelings, and more importantly, they'll be able to find out what they can do, how they can help to stop this from happening again, to be a part of a culture who understands, respects, and supports human rights.
The Washington National Bank building at 14th and G Streets, a short walk from the National Mall, and just 2 blocks from the White House, will be totally renovated and expanded to serve as the home of the museum.
This building has a very unique location in the city of Washington, D.C., and relative to the federal structures that we all know so well, such as the Capitol, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial. On the same cross-axis, the same street that the Holocaust Museum exists, and approximately the same distance from the mall, but in an opposite direction, the Armenian Genocide Museum will take its place. It is a neoclassical structure, but it is highly reminiscent of the historic Armenian architecture. I think one of the interesting aspects about the building is that on the interior, there's a highly decorated ceiling. And this recalls many of the churches that existed in historic Armenia. There's a real power, a very directed sense of energy that comes from the architecture of both the historic building and the new structure that's added to it. We're really looking at a building that's about 50,000 square feet in total. The exhibit space may be about 18 to 20,000 square feet of that. The building itself responds to the story, both the opening of Armenian culture in a larger, broader space where one has an expanse of air around them. We purposefully designed the new space to be open and full of light, symbolizing hope, symbolizing a renewal, symbolizing an energy to move forward and address the issues of genocide as they affect us today.
Politics, unfortunately, plays a big role in perpetuating crimes against humanity and covering them up, in denying crimes against humanity, in enabling future perpetrators of these crimes to understand that they can go forward and do it again with impunity, as long as their politics are correct. This museum is going to be a monument against that. This museum is going to stand in opposition, visibly, prominently, in the heart of Washington, in the nation's capital, and also a place where international visitors will come and be present. It's going to be a museum that reaches out to other museums. It's going to be a museum that reaches out to other peoples. It's going to be an active, ongoing, living monument. All Armenian kids have been asked the question, what's an Armenian? Who are you? Especially living in the United States. And it's not just Armenian kids. It's kids from other nationalities and religious and ethnic groups as well. We're going to help them point to something that will answer that question for them, and in a way that they can be proud of their heritage, and in a way that they can explain to people why we're living in the United States, what brought us here, what we suffered to get here, and what that legacy means to the future, because it is our legacy, it is our obligation to work to prevent future genocides, future crimes against humanity.
You are invited to stand with those who embrace this noble purpose by pledging your support for the Armenian Genocide Museum of America.